Joe Biden made a mistake by encouraging everyone to switch to electric cars. Car manufacturers like Honda, GM, and BMW are now opposing his push for electric vehicles EV-US. Biden's strict rules on gas cars and emissions are hurting non-electric car sales. This rush towards EVs has backfired, and the entire EV market is now in trouble. Companies are struggling, and the hype around EVs is fading. People are not buying EVs, and it seems like political leaders may be hiding something. I will expose the truth about why EV companies are about to crash. Car makers are even asking President Biden to slow down on promoting EVs because it's putting them at risk of financial ruin. The situation is serious, and we need to pay close attention to what's happening. People are saying that there's a strong push for making every car manufacturer produce electric vehicles, ES, and it's causing a panic among them. They believe that going full throttle on EVs could lead to financial disaster because, truth be told, EVs aren't selling well. People have realized that despite all the hype, there are serious issues with EVs, including 4 major flaws and numerous reliability issues. Gasoline cars are still considered the better choice. Now let's talk about the new emission standards set by the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA. They have set ambitious targets, aiming to reduce pollution from new vehicles by 56% in 2032 compared to 2026. President Biden is pushing for 2 out of every 3 cars sold in 5 years to be EVs to meet these goals. However, many automakers are expressing concerns, saying it's too fast and challenging to achieve. President Biden has set a goal of having 50% of vehicle sales as zero emission by 2030. The EPA is taking it a step further, and this has caused some discontent among car companies. In the past, these automakers expressed enthusiasm about transitioning to electric vehicles, However, with the implementation of the Inflation Reduction Act and the bipartisan infrastructure law, which include climate investments and charging infrastructure plans, the reality of meeting these targets has hit them hard. The new regulations mean that if car companies don't sell more EVs, they will face substantial fines. Ford is already dealing with a $4 billion loss. View has become the world's most indebted company, and GM faced a near $700 mild loss, with a risk of halting EV production due in part to leadership issues under Mary Barra. Our manufacturers have collectively invested over $210 billion in transitioning to zero-emission vehicles, ZEV, in the United States. They are also planning to invest an additional $1.03 trillion by 2030. Every major car company promised to sell more electric vehicles, EVs, before the Inflation Reduction Act became law. This law is a big deal because it gives a lot of support for building the EV supply chain and making electric cars more affordable. Now, despite their promises, car makers are getting worried. They say the rules from the Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, are too tough. For example, GM said they want all their vehicles to be emissions-free by 2035, but now they want the EPA to stick to Biden's 50 target for 2030. Nissan also promised to sell only electric cars by the early 2030s, but now they're changing it to just 40 by 2030. Honda is being cautious, and Toyota, even though they say they have the most electric cars on the road, is also in the mix. They are slow in adopting more electric vehicles, EVs, even though they have a strong lineup of traditional hybrids. However, when it comes to plug-in hybrids and fully electric options, they are falling behind. Stellantis, on the other hand, is criticizing the EPA's proposal, calling it overly optimistic despite their own ambitious commitments. It seems like they are making bold statements publicly but expressing different views privately. Now, you might be wondering why people would suddenly stop buying EVs if they are so great. Well, a recent report has caused a major stir in the EV world. According to the report, EVs have about 80 more issues than regular gas-powered cars. Yes, you heard it right, 80. On the flip side, hybrids are performing better with 25 fewer issues than gas cars. This is causing some serious concerns for pure EVs. They are slowly progressing towards more electric vehicles, EVs, but currently their focus is mostly on traditional hybrids. While they have a strong lineup of regular hybrids, they are lagging behind in the development of plug-in hybrids and fully electric options. Stellantis, on the other hand, criticizes the EPA's proposal, calling it overly optimistic despite making bold commitments themselves. It seems like they are conveying one message publicly but expressing different opinions behind closed doors. Now, you might wonder why people would suddenly stop buying EVs considering their apparent benefits. Well, a recent report has shaken up the EV world, revealing that EVs have approximately 80 more issues than conventional gas-powered cars. Yes, you heard it right, an 80i increase in problems. On the flip side, hybrids are faring better, experiencing 25 fewer issues than gas cars. This report suggests that pure EVs might be facing some challenges. It seems like assembling these cars is a bit shaky, almost like using bubble gum and duct tape. The third problem is the nightmare of charging electric vehicles. Not everyone has a charger at home, and during long trips, it's like playing Russian roulette. More than 40 of charging stations are out of order, leaving you stranded in the middle of nowhere. If you're stuck with an EV, you might have to flag down gas car drivers for help. The fourth issue is the limited range of EVs, unless you're willing to spend a significant amount, like 75 grand. Most EVs only offer a modest range of about 300 miles in perfect conditions, but in reality, you'd be lucky to get 200 miles. Companies are now slowing down EV production in North America and pushing back manufacturing targets to 2025. Now let's look at the broader market situation. Tesla is reducing prices, Ford is cutting production, and Mercedes-Benz is describing the EV market as a tough space. Car manufacturers are lowering electric vehicle EV prices just to stay competitive. For instance, Ford lost about $36,000 on each EV sold last quarter. That really hurts. Here's another surprising fact. The time it takes to sell new EVs has doubled since last year, now at 88 days. This means that EVs are sitting around waiting for buyers, unlike gas-powered cars, which are safe. So, what's the future for EV? Well, experts doubt that we'll reach the 67 watt market target by 2032. Currently, the market share for EVs in the US is only 7.9. Car manufacturers are rethinking their plans, and there might be delays in launching new EV models. If you're wondering whether to buy an electric car, it seems a bit risky. Spending a lot on an EV that might have issues, or going for a more reliable and cheaper hybrid is a decision to consider. Personally, I'd go for the latter. However, it's not all bad news. EV technology is getting better and charging infrastructure is growing. The EV revolution might be facing some challenges, but it's still making progress. It might just take a bit longer for electric vehicles, EVs, to become the norm, but not everyone is panicking. Ford is actually supporting the EPA's proposal, fully embracing electrification by investing over $50 billion through 2026. Their plan is to achieve a global production rate of 600 EVs a year by the end of this year and 2 million by 2026. Consumers are eagerly adopting EVs, and charging stations and network investments are on the rise. Automakers have been talking about being ready for the electric revolution, and now it's time for them to step on the gas, or, well, that electric pedal, and make it happen. As for our beloved gas cars, they aren't going away anytime soon. There are two types of hybrids. Conventional hybrids, like the original Prius models, have a small battery that boosts gas mileage but can't drive more than a couple of miles on battery power alone. Then there are plug-in hybrids, like the Prius Prime, with a larger battery that can be charged